Hi everyone, this is Rion Paper. I hope you're doing well. In today's video, I have kind of collected bits and pieces of things that I wanted to talk about, but that were not really big or long enough for a separate video. So this is just going to be another episode of Rue's Ramblings. I hope that's all right with you. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the takeanote planner. So this will be my journal and tracker journal and log for 2025. And some of you may have been wondering why I haven't set this up yet, or if there will be a setup video. And I've previously mentioned that there will be a setup video, but I was thinking about it and there probably won't be. And that's not because I'm not going to use it, because I absolutely am. But there just won't really be much setting up. I may decorate the cover a little bit, but I haven't really decided if I want to do that, so I just don't know yet. But I'm not really setting anything up inside the planner, because there aren't really a lot of like general pages, I guess, like pages you'd use for the entire year. Maybe this one, but this one doesn't have any room for setting up. I still need to think about what I want to do for January. So like January is just like still quite far away. The only thing that I absolutely am going to do is put a bit of decoration at the bottom of these pages that I'm going to use as a tracker. But I'm going to do that off camera. And I still need to decide what I want to put down there. And I'm going to do it off camera because it's really quite precise. I hate when it's not straight. So it's like I have to hang with my head like very close to the page and kind of on top of the planner and like make sure that it's straight. So that's not really, it doesn't really work doing that on camera. And for the rest, there's just not much setting up. I'm not really going to set up the monthly pages. Just going to use them as I go. So you'll probably see this planner again at the beginning of next year when there's actually like stuff happening inside. Then another thing I wanted to talk about is the pens that I got for Fountain Pen Day and Black Friday. So in my last video, I already mentioned that this is one of my favorite pens of the year. I got this one for Fountain Pen Day and I kind of went in with a plan. I knew that I wanted to get this pen for Fountain Pen Day. So I was just going to look where I could get the best deal. And that was with Stilo e Stile in Rome, Italy. And it got here very fast to the Netherlands and I inked it up immediately. And I've been writing with it for the entire month of November. And it's just such a lovely writer. The only ink I've put in it so far is Diamine Honeyburst. And it's just great. It's a lovely, lovely pen and ink combination, and I'm so happy with this pen. And then I wasn't actually going to buy anything for Black Friday. I was just going to do Fountain Pen Day. But then I saw that Fontoplumo in the Netherlands had a section with last items. So it was like pens that they only had one more item of, with a very, very high discount. And then I saw one of the pens that was on my wish list, and I know that it was no longer being made, so that it would get progressively harder to get it. So I could not pass up on getting this with a great discount. And that is the Leonardo Momento Zero in Aloha with the ruthenium trim. And I got really lucky, I think, with the resin. It's exactly, I love that the bottom part and the top part of the pen, or do you consider this the top and this the bottom? Because you hold it like this, right? I'd say this is the top part and this is the bottom. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I like that the ends of the pen are the darker part of the resin, and then it gets lighter towards the middle, and then there's another part of that darker resin. I just really like that. It feels very symmetrical. I got this with a broad nib, which is very unlike me, and I probably would not enjoy that because I have tiny handwriting and I can handle a fine, maybe a medium if I'm feeling very adventurous, but broad is just way out of my league. But I had a Leonardo fine spare nib that I put on here. I've not inked this up yet. I only received it yesterday morning. But I'm so happy that I managed to get this. I expected that it was going to be very hard to find it at some point, but it was just like a little too expensive at that point to get it. But yeah, the discount was just really, really good. And I'm really happy that it's here now. It feels like a summer pen to me though. Like this, it's like the sea or like a swimming pool. So I might have to think about what ink I'm going to put in here that makes it feel a little bit more like winter. Or I'm just going to go full on summer vibes in December. Might as well. But yeah, these two pens are my most recent acquisitions. And I just wanted to show them to you. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the Diamine Inkvent calendar. I have the Inkvent calendar for this year. I am opening one of the tiny boxes, no, what's it called, doors every day and swatching the ink. And but I'm not really making any videos about it throughout the month. There are so many videos out there. If you want to watch a really good one, if you want to like follow along and watch one ink every day, then take a look at the videos from my Dandelion Diaries. Her swatching videos are really, really lovely. She's also doing the Colorvent one, so you can follow both if you want. I don't have the Colorvent one. I just found it too expensive, and it was a little hard to get here in Europe as well. I kind of regret not getting it now because I have sort of spoiled myself and watched swatches of all of the inks for the Colorvent one because I thought, well, I don't have it, so might as well just watch it. And there's some really, really good colors in there. I have not watched any of the videos for the Diamine Inkvent. I'm just doing that day by day. Although actually I swatched the ink the night before. So like I started like on November 30th in the evening, because that way when videos like start popping up on the 1st of December, I can just watch them all, see what other people have to say. But I already know what the color looks like because I usually don't have time in the morning to swatch it, especially on work days. So that just works better for me. I will, however, make one like big video after Christmas where I'm going to rank all of the Inkvent inks of this year. And I'm just going to decide like what the best one is. It's going to be super subjective and not very helpful, but I still hope you'll like it. The Inkvent is also why I don't have many pens inked up for this month. And I'm not going to film a currently inked video because I just, like last year, I also had the Inkvent calendar and I did have a lot of pens inked up, and it just felt like I couldn't really ink up inks from the Inkvent immediately because that would just result in too many pens inked up and not being able to write them all dry before the end of the year, which is something that I did want to do. So this year I've just decided that I have 2 pens or so inked up, so that right now I have something to write with. But then whenever I come across an ink color in the Inkvent where I'm like, oh, I want to try this one in a pen, I can just do it. And I have room in my like currently inked pens to just add a couple of pens. So yeah, that's the plan. Another thing that I want to talk about is the paper in my Hobonichi weeks for next year. And unfortunately, I hadn't tested this at like the beginning of September, but unfortunately I do have like the bad paper, which I'm really sad about because I was quite happy with the Sensen paper, honestly. I am one of those people who kind of likes the Sensen paper a little bit better than the old Tomura River paper because it's just a little toothier, which I enjoy. I enjoy having more feedback on the page, which is also why I love Sailor fountain pen nibs. But in the case of my Hobonichi weeks for this year, the bleed through is just no joke. Like, take a look at this. Like, it's not, like, obviously there's a lot of ghosting, but there's also a lot of, like, what do you call it? Pinpoint? No, pin bleed through? Needle bleed through? I don't know. It's like these very, very small dots that just come through. And that particularly happens with the Platinum Carbon Black ink, which is a document ink. But that's the one that I love using in my Hobonichi weeks. And I'm just going to try and find a page where I don't have anything written on the back. Hold on. I need to find something so I can show you the difference. Yeah, for example here, like if you compare this with the one on the left, that is the same pen, the same ink, but the difference is really big. So I'm really quite disappointed with that. There's not really anything to be done about it. I still love it because it's the Hobonichi weeks. It's a book and a layout that works well for me, but I really hope they manage to fix their paper problems for next year. And then one last thing that I wanted to talk about. Oh, I'm actually going to manage to keep this video not too long. Wow. Is the Benu Euphoria in Earl Grey. I had a bit of trouble writing with this because the nib was very smooth, but also very, very wet. I'd put quite a wet ink in here, the Dominant Industry Earl Grey tea, which is a great match. But it was really hard to write neatly with this. But then I was Googling online because I'm kind of considering getting it ground, the nib, to an extra fine, because you can't buy an extra fine for this, like not a stock nib, just a regular Schmidt nib that goes on the Euphoria. So I was considering getting it ground or buying a pre-ground one maybe. But then I found online that you can put a TWSBI VAC 70R nib VAC 700R nib unit in here. So I got one of those, and I just like screwed out the nib unit from the Benu Euphoria, put in the TWSBI nib unit. You don't have to do anything scary. You don't have to pull out the nib or something like that. It's just a question of like unscrewing the threads and putting something else back on. And it works really well. So I'm really thankful for that post on Reddit. I can't remember who wrote it, but yeah, thank you for sharing that, because this works really well. And now I can just like swap between the fine and the extra fine whenever I want to, kind of depending on the ink that I have in here. I'm still debating doing the same thing with the nib for my matcha latte, which is the other Benu Euphoria that I have that also has a fine nib. But that one has a bit of a drier ink in it, and that works actually pretty well with a fine nib. So that was also my consideration, like, okay, maybe it's nice to be able to swap the nib and not have everything ground to an extra fine, because there might be situations where then it becomes like too fine, too dry, especially with a drier ink in there. But yeah, if you have a Benu Euphoria and you're thinking the fine nib is not fine enough and you want to get it ground, you may also consider putting one of the TWSBI VAC 700R nib units in there. I personally really like TWSBI nibs. I think they write smoothly. They are just really good quality. So for me, it wasn't a problem putting a TWSBI nib on a Benu Euphoria and sort of having two brands. I mean, maybe if Benu had their own nibs, but they're using like Schmidt nibs anyway, so it doesn't really, it's not like they have one nib that really needs to go with the pen, like the way I feel about Pilot or Sailor. Anyway, I think that was everything that I wanted to share for today. Yeah, have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.